Okay, let's finish this thing off, shall we? So I had the rest of the summer to enjoy after the Henley win. After a season like that, you've got some catching up to do on missed social occasions and, well, just everything really. But to me, it was obvious I'd be going back to do another year. I didn't just come to win and bounce. In fact, I didn't think I'd be anywhere near closer to 1 year. I was just there to get better. And the rumour in the ranks was that this year we'd be doing sculling at Thames, which I am renowned for being quite shite at. So I'd start warming up to the idea of using 2 blades. But after a good summer break and a lot of fun, I got back to London and back to Thames Rowing Club. And we started off hopping back into 8s, which was great. But at this phase, I was in denial mode about the impending sculling training that I had to do that was coming my way. So I stayed at sweep boats for as long as possible. This was going to be a big year of training. Training volume was going up, competition was going up, standards were going up. The whole thing was just going to be a big step up for me and everyone else. But we did our first 20-minute test. I did well. PB for me was 1:43. I had a good foothold to really step on this year. Me and Finn rode a pair, which was fast. We stayed in that for a while. Then Finn got tasked with teaching me to scull in double 2, which is pretty long for him, but thank you, Finn. Pretty early on, I started to realise I had a serious problem with my whole left arm. It kind of hit a lactic threshold and seized up after, honestly, about 2k of rowing. And this was due to a weakness, like a flexibility issue. I just couldn't really fully extend the left arm. I'd never really used it in that sort of manner, in the way you do for sculling, but I had a serious problem. Alex Haynes had an identity crisis, so he rejoined Thames Rowing Club. We hopped in a double quite a few times. About 2 weeks later, Alex Haynes quit Thames Rowing Club. And undoubtedly, these 2 events are probably related. My sculling was getting better, but it wasn't looking effective or effective enough. This was about November time, and at this point you're staring down the barrel of an intermediate sculling event at Henley. So I didn't really feel particularly full of promise. But things were improving. The next 20-minute I blew. This was a first for me, particularly at Thames. That was the first time in like 10 years I've gone backwards on an erg test. It'll keep me in check, and then I've just got to chip away at the next one. I just came to the conclusion that these are the ups and downs of training at this level. Later on in November, we started to get out in quads, and platform was sitting in a bigger boat definitely helped me improve my technical bits and bobs. We then had Force Head. My left forearm blew. As most of you probably know, that's a long race. I had no chance really. The whole race was a write-off. I really fucked it up for my crew. We got cast as an extra at a TV series down at the club. Had a fun time there. We celebrated the year with everyone at the club. Dinner. And just mileage, baby. By Christmas, I was as fit as I'd ever been, but I was almost cooked. But then I came back up to Christmas, I was still semi-cooked, and then by February, I was really cooked. I was definitely the fittest I'd ever been by quite a long way. I PB'd again on the 20 minutes, 140.9, 140.8 I think it was. But the whole process was starting to become quite taxing on me. The main thing for me was, I could tell I was becoming distracted by other things and just less focused and less motivated, I guess, is the main tell. This was never a problem I had the previous year. This was a new thing for me, and it was evident it was telling me something, and that was, I was done. I recorded a clip as I was cycling back from a training session at the club, and that's when I knew I had to call it. It's the 21st of February today, and I think it's time. I think I'm done. It was really quite deflating to lose passion for something you'd done for 14 years that had kept me so focused throughout what was over half my adult life. Actually, no, over half my whole life. Not many people do get to experience that. In fact, very few people do. And yeah, it felt like I was losing it, which I guess is a natural thing to feel. Like I was coming to the conclusion of the whole rowing malarkey. So that weekend, I messaged my coach Sander to say I wanted to take the weekend off. And I would go on a long bike ride with friends instead. He is a very understanding coach, and he gave me the leeway to do so. He probably knew what was going on. On the Friday night, it was a strange feeling not having training, not having anything to commit to, and going out for a friend's party. But it was also really liberating, making the decision each day to decide what you want to do. Yeah, it was the reintroduction to just normal life. However, right around the corner, we had Eights Head. This meant back into sweet boats, and more importantly, into eights, which is my favourite boat class by far. Before I joined Thames, I was in Liverpool, right? And I had visualised being in the Thames First Eight for the Head of the River, which was a race I had never raced before. Now, originally they had stuck me in the second eight. I was really fucking determined to overturn that and get myself in a seat in the first eight, probably as a send-off before I felt like what was inevitably going to be my last ever race. Didn't seem like there was going to be much sort of mobility between crews. It seemed like they were fairly set, which I was quite upset about. But that weekend, we all went to Dorney Lake. We all hashed it out, and in like 5 or 6 8 side by side, telemetry was applied to both the top two boats. I was fucking back, baby. This is what I'd missed, and I honestly could have pulled the rigger off that day. It was like three or four 1Ks, like 20-minute break in between. Just fucking go for it. Got off the water, I was buzzing. The coaches seemed really pleased with me, and that night the email came through to announce the squads. I'd been bumped up to the first eight. This was huge for me. I find it quite easy to not set goals sometimes and I'd really speak what I want. I knew I wanted to be in that boat and put myself under the pressure to get it. But anyway, this race, I knew I was going to be we would be racing the best of the best across the country. The standard of this first eight was going to be the highest I'd ever rode in, and people were racing as the highest ever. And honestly, part of me thinks that maybe this race meant more to me than the Henley boat. I say all this, but after half a season of sculling, we actually had to learn some sweep again properly, and we had 2 weeks to really sort it out. Pressure was on, the expected standards were high, tensions got high at some point, but I fucking loved this process. And we did, we sorted it out, we got to a standard we thought was good enough. Then come race day, right, we were at the start line. This was a moment that I will always remember, but we lined up the start line. It was a really flat day. It wasn't too cold either for this point in the season, but the heavens just opened. And it was fucking so moody up there. And we were just sat next to some of the best crews in the country. I gave a little nod to my old crewmate, Harry Brightmore. He was sat in the Brooks first day with the number 1 bow number. It was just a fucking cool moment. And then we hit it, we were off. I hit the race too hard and I ended up blowing about 3/4 of the way through. Let me show you the telemetry because it just shows me blowing up and bleeding out. But yeah, my crewmates kept me over the line. Coming off the water, I felt really emotional because I knew it would be my last real race, and I'd also kind of fucked it up, but the boys had got me over that line. And it was a good, important reminder to me that this is a team sport, and yeah, in team sports, people do have your back. They have to cover for you sometimes. And we also got the W. We beat London and Molesey, so fuck you guys. I'm joking, but it was close, and just overall, it was an epic day. And that evening, we got to enjoy ourselves at the club party. And that was meant to be the end. But it wasn't. I think I roped myself into the prospect of doing Henley one last time. I was so close to the end of the season, I might as well have finished it off. I Sander stuck us back out in sculling boats, and we had a few regattas around the corner, which was Wallingford, Met and Marlow. So we did a speed test selection for Wallingford, I think it was, with the top quad was hooked up with telemetry, and a few of us did, I think it was like 3 1Ks. I did the first one, my forearm made it through, but it was kind of cooked, so I put down a good piece. Second one, it was really cooked, and then the third one I had to stop. So yeah, I obviously was never going to make a boat where I can't even row correctly. I looked at the Telem though, and I had the highest watts in the first piece, but I was just too much reliability to be selected. But it was good to see that I could still fucking rip up. That's all I've got in rowing really. I've never been the strongest, I've never been the fittest or the most technical, but I know how to grip the water and just fucking put everything on the end of the blade. So we did Wallingford, got whooped, then I sat out for Met, I think, and then we did a double at Marlow, and these were good events, but I could tell I wasn't going to be doing a sculling bow for Henley. But I found 3 lads from Dartmouth to do Cox's 4 for the Visitors Challenge Cup. So yeah, another scratch bow. This was something I thought I'd very much left in the past, but it was a process I was also very familiar with. You've got a short space of time to really try and improve. I knew how quick you could sort of get up to speed, and that's what we did. These were great lads, and Sam got his first ever quali into Henley after I think like 3 years of not making it in the past. So that was good. It was a feel-good process. We were just there to have a fucking good time. We unfortunately got doored by Molsey, so GG lads, there you go. Made me look silly swearing at you earlier. And that is almost it. But I thought I would end on Pear's Head, which is technically in the following season. To sum it up, it was just a lovely flat day on the Tideway October. Shout out to Tom Bolton for lugging me down that course. I really enjoyed it. We had a nice race to end on. As far as seasons go, this was probably the hardest I've ever worked, but also the least reward I'd ever had. So what do I think about that? Well, that's the way it fucking is. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. Just accept the process is going to do this to you sometime. It's there to test who's really in it for the long haul, and I'm completely fine with that. And on that note, I'm gonna do what I normally do, and I want to finish this whole 9 years of vlogs with an anecdote. Show you what it's all about to me. May 2022, we were on a training camp. I'd put a huge shift in on the first day and I got injured. A guy called Ben in the boat beneath me, the third day, he got bumped up to take my spot, and then he got put in on the second day for match dates racing for selection for Henley. I could see on the water after a few pieces, I was just out there filming, I could see on the water Ben was getting pissed off with himself for not getting it right in the session. After the session, I went over to go see him if he was okay. He was pissed off with himself. He went off with a strop, bit of a baby really, but he was young, so don't worry about it. He's a gappy. Give him a chance. Later that afternoon, it was the evening. We were about to go for dinner as a club. I saw him again, and he'd calmed himself down. Thankfully, I spoke to him. He said he was worried that he'd fucked up, and he put a lot of pressure on himself in that position to get himself a seat that year. Now, he would only be at Thames for a year, and he was a gappy, so he was off to uni for the next 4 years. So this was his one shot, really. So I said to Ben, I said, look, I'm going to be around for a while. I'm happy to do this for years. I said I'd be happy if you took my seat, mate. And then he turned around to me and said he wanted me to have the seat. We were both competing for that final seat for Henley. And then he said something to me I'll always remember. He said, whatever happens, Pat, we're both on the come up, mate. And then what transpired is that we both got selected in the same boat that year that then went on to win Henley. And if that ain't it, I don't know what is.
And that kind of sums it all up for me. The come up was the most important thing. It was the most fun part, and it was the best bit. So don't take it for granted, because it'll be over sooner than you know it. And that's all from me. Pat and Ratty, over and out.